Hi, my name is Leslie, and it's been almost a year since I've graduated from Empty Your Bucket Plan. I didn't think it was possible. I was very hesitant, and I said, okay, let's give this a try. There is no way I will see less than 160, and here I am. I've lost 35 pounds, and I've been able to maintain my weight. It's not just about losing the weight. You also learn more about yourself and how we give food so much power. I would definitely give this program 2 thumbs up, and I would definitely redo it again.
You're probably wondering how to break the yo-yo dieting cycle. If you've been on several diets, losing weight only to regain it back, you're most likely frustrated and experiencing what I call learned helplessness, meaning that you've done a thing over and over and over again, and at this point you feel like there's no hope for you. If that's the case, you're not alone. In the last 23 years of working with people in the area of fitness and nutrition, I know that 9 out of 10 people, specifically in America, struggle with yo-yo dieting. Here's why these sprint strategies don't work. By the way, sprint strategies mean that they work up front, but then when you get busy and all these different temptations and triggers come at you, you fail hard. The reason for that is that sprint strategies are only made to help you lose 15, 25 pounds, but they won't get you to the end goal. More importantly, you won't be able to sustain it. And so I would like to give you some clarity, and I believe that this clarity will help you change this little problem forever. Let's start with some of the most popular questions, because I believe that this will help you understand how yo-yo dieting works, and more importantly, how to actually eradicate the problem. Here's some of the most popular questions that I received from some of the people inquiring to come on our program. Number 1, why do you feel like your program is the most sustainable? I get this all the time. JT, why is the Empty Your Bucket Plan so sustainable? Well, we start off like everyone else, which we start off with a sprint. First phase is called reset. In that reset phase, lots of positive things happen. More importantly, we reset your palate and reset the way your brain perceives reward. In other words, we reset your dopamine set point so that you're no longer triggered and tempted by all these things that get your attention when you're bored, happy, sad, any of the up or down emotions. And so 80% of our program is focused on the cognitive aspects of nutrition versus focusing on dynamics, which can only take you so far. I think you would agree that rules have never changed anyone. In other words, telling a person to do A, B, and C has never really resolved an issue for the long run. What actually really changes things for the long run is changing your convictions about specific things. Let me give you an example. If I give you the idea that if you do a low carb, high protein, healthy fat diet, yeah, most likely that's gonna work, that's dynamics. But if I can actually get you to understand the intrinsic why on why you're actually changing these things, in other words, I get you to connect to something like, for example, leaving a legacy of health and wellness for your kids. Maybe you have grandchildren and you're looking to be around for a longer time, spend more time with your grandchildren. These things will hold through when the tension comes in. Let me explain. Anytime you start a process, people start with the best intentions, and surely after a couple of weeks of encountering frictions, they hit a wall and they just quit, right? When you actually strengthen your intrinsic why alongside a set of dynamics that are sustainable, it becomes very easy. You don't have to exert a ton of energy on a daily basis to make things happen. And so the number 1 point here, and the reason why we're so different, is because we help people reset their palate, change their affections for certain foods. Number 2, we get that dopamine set point to be at a place in where you're no longer having to reach for food every time you are in any kind of adversity or friction. Number 2, we believe that having 3 phases to a program is very, very important. Like I mentioned, most programs start off as a sprint. Reset is that sprint for us. Second to that is what we call reboot, and that is when we actually start bringing foods in that we originally take out in order to make some progress, but we don't demonize food groups. And so phase number 2 is a carb cycling phase, and where we start to sprinkle some of the things that we took out initially, and that really helps people readjust so that they don't feel restricted or that like they can't eat this or eat that. Once again, we don't demonize food groups. Phase 3 is more of that maintenance mode and what we call intuitive eating. You've probably heard of the name intuitive eating. If you look it up on Google, you're gonna see tons of forums and blogs and groups of people that are doing intuitive eating, but you can't really do intuitive eating until you actually train your hunger cues, right? Telling a person that they can just eat whatever they want whenever they feel like doing that, is a way to help people, for lack of better words, to help people fail, right? And so the idea here is not simply to tell someone to eat whenever they want to eat, but instead to be able to give them a solid plan and train those hunger cues so that when they go into that plan, they can succeed. And so 3 phases: reset, reboot, and excel. That's super important in what we do. We also don't believe that you should restrict forever. Restricting forever, anything you restrict comes back tenfold. And so if you're holding back consistently on things such as keto, Atkins, South Beach, macro counting, calorie counting, all these very restrictive sort of dynamics, you can do that for a little while, but it won't last for a long time. The other thing we often talk to people about is the idea of hyper accountability. You can have all the concepts, but if you don't have someone holding you by the hand, someone guiding you, someone that you have access to on a daily basis, someone who's touching base with you every other day, it becomes very, very difficult, especially after week 2, right? Week 1 is what I call the romance week. Week 2, you start to feel the friction, the adversity, the restrictions. You start going places. You realize you can't do certain things for that season, and that can get very difficult. And so having a coach beside you to coach you through those particular situations is really, really important. The other side of the program that I get, and people ask me all the time, JT, am I gonna have to count macros, calories, points, or do any of these things? And the answer is no. I truly believe that these dynamics can be very, very efficient, but they don't hold up long term. And that's why most people that do any of these strategies, the point counting systems, lose the weight, but then they just revert very quickly, because the honest truth is you're not gonna count macros, calories, or points for the rest of your life. That's very unsustainable. And so yes, that is not a sustainable approach, and that's why we don't do it. We actually teach people how to portion control in a very simplistic yet powerful way. The last question that I want to share with you here is, how do you keep people accountable? And I kind of touched on that earlier on, but I think it's important to bring it back to the surface. And it's the idea that most programs keep people accountable once, the really good ones maybe twice a week, whereas we're keeping people accountable on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and then you have access to a coach 6 days a week. One day is when the coach kind of ducks a little bit and has his day off, but for the most part, you have a coach there beside you. You can text him, you can call, and that becomes a very, very interesting dynamic, which in my experience really holds up when people are dealing with triggers, temptations, and all the things that come at you when you're trying to change your lifestyle. And so if you've yo-yo dieted, if you've had a bunch of issues with diets, you've been on every single diet, you have a t-shirt for every single diet, I'm here to say that you're probably frustrated, you've struggled, and you're probably wondering, is there hope? And the answer to that is yes, there's hope. And I do believe that the Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan can be a solution for you, but more importantly, I want you to hear me when I say this. You need to find something that is sustainable. You need to find something that allows you to navigate weekends, holidays, travel, people, places, things, all these things that are coming at you. And this speaks more about the cognitive aspects of nutrition. Remember, the dynamics are easy. Following A, B, and C is easy, but it's those other components that most diets don't have and where most coaches and programs fall short. This is why we feel confident that the Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan is a way to eradicate yo-yo dieting once and for all, because we're a multidisciplinary approach to nutrition versus just teaching people dynamics. And so the question, why am I yo-yo dieting? You're yo-yo dieting because you've done things that are not sustainable. You've done things that are unrealistic. And so for the most part, it hasn't been your fault. You haven't gotten rid of the dependencies, and until you do that, no matter what rules, what dynamics come in, you're not gonna be successful. And so if I've intrigued you in any way, shape, or form, I would love to work with you. There's a link down below where you can connect with us. But if anything, I hope you've gotten something out of this video and you start to understand and have some clarity. I believe clarity is potential power, meaning that when our eyes are open, our perspective is different, and we can make different and better decisions. And so I hope this video has empowered you, encouraged you to move forward and understand that there is hope, but we just have to line things up correctly in order to bring our goals to fruition. My name is JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan. Today we spoke about how to eradicate yo-yo dieting, and yes, there is hope. I hope you put these things into action. I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao, ciao.